Despite the ongoing inflation problems, there's still one more thing to worry about. Will your favorite restaurant chain be available the next time you decide to check in? While some restaurants are no longer lucrative, others are closing in a bid to keep the business as a whole afloat. For every restaurant that experiences enormous success in the United States, there are a number of others that struggle or fail to survive and eventually collapse. In 2019, there were 703,000 eateries in the country as a whole. However, according to research from the food service sector Technomic, there will only be 630,000 establishments left by the end of the year. In recent years, there have been an increasing number of restaurant closures due to rising expenses for food, labor, and other commodities, as well as traffic declines brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic that still negatively affect some chains today. Even the most recognizable and well-known restaurant chains, such as Red Lobster and Applebee's, have been greatly affected by these financial issues. However, closing restaurants isn't always an indication that a company is having trouble. This year, there have been some closures as a result of legal disputes between a restaurant franchisees and the bigger business. In some cases, the closures are even calculated actions meant to free up more space and cash flow for the business to grow. Whatever the case, you may find it more difficult to locate some of your preferred chain restaurants. Now is the time to recheck because that favorite spot might no longer exist by the end of this year. So, here are 15 restaurant franchises that will likely close large numbers of outlets in 2023. Number 1, Applebee's. The late night, half-app discounts and inventively festive cocktails at Applebee's haven't quite paid off enough for the restaurant business, as numerous United States sites have recently been forced to close, even though the business had stated it had ambitious intentions for a turnaround in 2023. The losses started that year. In 2022, 9 stores were closed and 4 new ones were added. Things have since become worse. Due to low revenues and unsuccessful expansion ambitions, the parent company Dine Brands projects that Applebee's will have between 10 and 20 fewer restaurants in the United States by the end of this year. Number 2, Krispy Kreme. The thrilling alliance with McDonald's along with record sales in 2022 haven't stopped Krispy Kreme from announcing that 14 shops will close in 2023. Rather than being an indication of broader company problems, these store closures are more of trimming underperforming stores. The company also lost 10 locations in 2022 as a result of the eatery's inability to generate sufficient sales and patronage. The chain earned $1.52 billion in net sales by the end of the year, so it appears that the closures had the expected impact. The brand continues to believe in its present business strategy and is seeing success in its efforts to focus on quality over quantity. Number 3, Boston Market. Boston Market is presently down to roughly 330 restaurants in the US, from its peak of around 1,200 sites in the 1990s. The restaurant was once well known for offering rotisserie chicken, but now that the food is widely available in supermarkets, its place in the market is in doubt. According to Insider, in 2021, a lack of staff put pressure on them and caused a walkout, which caused 10% of all stores to close. Number 4, Denny's. Denny's had more than 1,600 locations in the US as of 2017. However, Statista data shows that the number dropped to 1,445 by 2022. After the pandemic hit, running those restaurant locations got harder and harder since the chain had staffing problems. In August, a video of 2 customers going to assist a lone Denny's employee in the kitchen went viral due to the restaurant's severe staffing shortage. According to Mashed, 5 additional Denny's outlets closed in September. Number 5, IHOP. IHOP too seems to be having problems with growth. It had an objective of opening around 60 branches the previous year, but it only managed to reach roughly 40 by the end of the year. IHOP has been in business effectively for almost 64 years, starting in 1958. And despite the pandemic forcing the closure of 200 outlets, it now has more than 1,600 locations spread over all 52 states. Number 6. Hardee's. One of the worst cases on this list included a large Hardee's franchisee who filed for bankruptcy after closing a shocking 39 locations. Originally operating 145 sites in the South, Midwest, and West, the franchise Summit Restaurant Holdings now only operates 108 eateries. According to Restaurant Business Magazine, Summit struggled due to rising food and labor expenses that have affected the larger restaurant sector, as well as traffic declines brought on by the COVID-19 outbreak. Number 7. Burger King. Burger King has witnessed a few franchisees collapse despite the vibrant attempt to rebuild the company with its $400 million scheme. Burger King charged franchisee EYM King in April for apparently failing to pay the necessary royalties, ad fund contributions, and other fees, forcing it to close 26 restaurant sites in Michigan. In court documents filed this month, a different Burger King franchisee who filed for bankruptcy in March said that it is liquidating 27 Burger King restaurants in Minnesota, Utah, Montana, Kansas, Nebraska, and North Dakota. According to Restaurant Business, Burger King has had a difficult 15 years due to sluggish revenue, aged stores, and an inability to compete. Number 8. Red Lobster. Since it first opened in 1968, Red Lobster has been providing diners all over the nation with endless shrimp platters, baskets of Cheddar Bay biscuits, and fresh lobster. Although the firm prides itself on providing everyone with reasonably priced seafood numerous once, profitable sites have been closed as a result of current financial difficulties. The seafood restaurant once had more than 700 locations around the world, but that number has been declining. Red Lobster closed 5 locations in 2021, and the chain closed an additional 8 locations from 2022 to 2023. Number 9. Ruby Tuesday. According to Restaurant Business, it had 840 locations as of the end of the 2000s, but over the following 10 years, it shuttered roughly 400 eateries. A few months after the COVID pandemic began, it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and shut down another 185 locations, leaving only about 236 open. Then, in 2021, it emerged from Chapter 11 with only 209 stores. According to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Wisconsin's final Ruby Tuesday shuttered down in January. The Middletown Press announced in February that a Texas Roadhouse would take over the space of another restaurant in Connecticut within the next 2 years. Number 10. Steak and Shake. For many years, Steak and Shake has been gradually getting smaller, and this year will not be different. The popular local burger restaurant, which is mostly found in the Midwest, has been struggling recently as a result of customer concerns about the quality and service, and it just avoided bankruptcy in 2020. 1. In accordance with an update from Steaks and Shake's parent business, Big Larry Holdings, there were 493 Steak and Shake stores as of March this year, a decrease of 41 outlets from the Steak and Shake's total of 534 stores. When you consider an era of time earlier than 2022, the decline is considerably greater. With 626 locations as of the end of 2018, Steak and Shake has lost more than 130 locations in less than 5 years. Number 11. Subway. Despite being the biggest restaurant chain in the US over the past 5 years, Subway has shut down almost 25% of its locations. According to Scrape Bureau, as of February 27, there were about 20,600 Subway locations nationwide, down from roughly 26,000 in 2017. An extensive menu revamp in 2020, one that introduced Belgioioso fresh mozzarella and hearty multigrain bread to the eatery, was hailed as a big success. So the ongoing closures are somewhat surprising. In certain places, sales increased by close to 33%. Number 12. Buffalo Wild Wings. Despite being very popular, this chicken restaurant and sports bar has also been closing locations, but it has kept over 1,000 across the nation. The business presently has 1,234 locations, which is around 45 lower than the 1,279 it had in November 2020. but in comparison to other eateries that have reduced their workforces. The company gained notoriety earlier this year when they responded cheekily to a spurious $9 million lawsuit filed by a disgruntled customer who was upset that the boneless wings on the menu weren't actually wings. Number 13, Friendly's. One of the original eateries on the list, Friendly's first debuted as an ice cream parlor in 1935. Later, the establishment added burgers and fries to its menu. But it filed for bankruptcy in November 2020 and closed a number of sites, much like many other eateries. However, its problems before the pandemic. It shut down 14 sites in New York State in 2019. Number 14, TGI Fridays. 20% of TGI Fridays restaurants, which started in the 1960s, closed during the pandemic, and more will happen in 2023. The sit-down restaurant now has only 289 locations after closing a significant number of stores in 2022. The permanent closing of several TGI Fridays restaurants in Massachusetts and Texas has already been scheduled. However, the franchise has plans to grow internationally after agreeing to open 75 new location outlets in South and Southeast Asia. Number 15, Cracker Barrel. The chain recently stated that it would be closing 3 locations, which will result in its disappearance from the Oregon region surrounding Portland. It closed a second location in Oregon in December. The employees stated that the decision to shut down was actually prompted by security issues, despite the company's initial claims that it was simply the result of poor performance. Despite these unexpected layoffs, Cracker Barrel claims it hopes to add more than a dozen locations by the end of the year to its existing total of about 665. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons. Most importantly, don't forget to click that bell icon to be notified when a new video is uploaded. Also, feel free to leave a remark if you have any recommendations for videos. From No Cap Capitalist, have a great day everyone, and thanks once again.